Welcome back to another episode of the Bryan podcast with yours truly, Bryan Rosevear, and my legendary co-host, Ryan Perrock. Hey, pal.
Hey, cuz. How's the finger?
It's more of a mission than a, it's not that sore, but it's just a pain. Anyway, on today's show, UPS goes shopping for pilots, pay increases in Canada, Delta Airlines reports a narrow first quarter profit. Lufthansa suspends flights to and from Tehran. Airbus projects substantial growth. The GTF recall affecting 1/3 of the total GTF fitted fleet. FAA begins the investigation of the Boeing Whistleblower allegations. Expect to see a new unruly passenger treaty in the coming years. And SAA needs a new chief exec. Should we start off with some pilot demand news?
I think so.
So UPS, they need to hire over 300 pilots for their first new contract with the US Postal Service, replacing FedEx. The new partnership will increase demand for UPS air cargo services. The pilot recruitment process is underway, and obviously expecting a massive surge in workload. So if you're looking for a job, again, in the States, wide-body skipper, they need it at UPS.
So that might be a good option for, was it Delta that we were talking about last week? That were
United,
that's right. That we're going to give some guys some unpaid leave so that they could rectify their safety issues while they wait for Boeing to work things out.
All the puzzle pieces will fall into place.
It'll work out one way or the other.
In Canada, there's a crowd there, Nolinor Aviation, if I've pronounced that correctly. They have just whacked up pilot pay by 40%. So, starting salary for Boeing 737 skippers now at $175,000, reaching $250,000. That's $184,000 US. The initiative aims to value and retain talent in the face of pilot shortage challenges. So obviously Canada hasn't felt the sort of max effect that the US has. Because the US, other than obviously we're speaking about UPS, but that's to do with a specific contract, the sort of pilot demand stories are a little bit lower than they were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But a large portion of that is to do with the slowdown of the 737 MAX production line.
Well, that, and also, I suppose, if you're offering that amount of tin, I mean, that's not bad ash to be throwing at pilots. I mean, you can afford to get rid of your shitbox Korean car if you're earning those type of digits,
Nothing wrong with a Korean shitbox, bro.
Yeah.
Speaking of Delta there, Delta reported a narrow first quarter profit, strong demand for travel despite recent industry incidents. Airline expects record-breaking revenue in the current quarter and aims to beat Wall Street expectations for the second quarter. Delta focus on premium passengers and cost management has helped offset challenges like rising jet fuel costs. So it's, if you're not making money now in the US sector, I suppose the pilot pay and all those big added expenses that they didn't have before, flying a lot more, so their revenue's up, but the margins in aviation are still incredibly small.
No, of course. It'll always be that way.
Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast. Lufthansa, they're suspending flights to and from Tehran due to Middle East tensions. Iran and Israel exchange threats amid escalating conflict. So Lufthansa, safety and passengers come first, or safety of the passengers come first. So if you were looking at going to Tehran, pal, but you weren't. Keen on going somewhere else.
Yeah, no, look, I was going to save it towards the end of the show to let you know, just that if you don't mind, I want to put in some leave because I'm interested in going to Mumbai on holiday.
There's a charter flight there.
Yeah. There's a couple of charter flights that are available. Mumbai, and then maybe connect onto, Fujairah. Yeah. So I've been fiddling around, looking at a few options, decent charter flight options available.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go check out Fly Africa. There's an oak I don't even want to give him any airtime, but he's got this airline, the name of which is just ludicrous in itself. It's now got some charter flights going to Mumbai. And
I almost want to say it's ambitious, but like ridiculously ambitious. Or do we just say it the way we would on our show and just summarize it as just being a complete fucking joke?
Well, it's that. And I suppose we wouldn't even... anyone can have a dream. And these days, you can be whatever you want. And if you are someone that in your head owns an airline, then cool, be that person. But don't let it affect other people. Now, if you go onto LinkedIn and things like this, the amount of people that actually follow this guy and believe what he has to say is just crazy. So it is affecting other people. So be careful of buying a charter flight to Mumbai. That's all we're saying. Should we carry on with the real news?
I reckon.
Airbus, they're projecting a substantial growth, 45% in North America. And this is going to, that's a figure that they've based up to 2042. Basically what's happened, Airbus forecast growth has just gone through the roof, because if you're a new startup airline and you're looking at buying a new aircraft, then chances are you're looking at the Airbus wide bodies and even the narrow bodies these days. So massive projected growth for Airbus. And we're going to keep an eye on it because, as you know, Ryan and I are avid, what do we call them? Stock exchange gurus.
I don't know. I don't know if guru is the right word to call it, but no. So definitely keeping an eye on it.
From a share point of view, Airbus definitely the way to go.
Yeah, at the moment, I think it's going to play that way for quite a while still. It's going to definitely swing Airbus's direction.
You would think that, though. But then something else comes along, like this Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan issue, which obviously affects the 320neo fleet more than any other. And what is it now? 1/3 of those aircraft with these Pratt & Whitney geared turbofans are sitting on the ground, affecting Airbus and their shares. You see how you have to... This is why you need guys like us to give you that angle. Yeah. Because otherwise you just wouldn't know.
See, it depends on where you get your information from, because I saw a very good meme doing the rounds this morning. I think I sent it to you. I don't know if you checked it out, but quite a good joke.
Yeah.
Oaks going into the men's toilet, yeah. And then you've got the Comac version, the Boeing version, and then the Airbus that comes along. I thought that was a good way of summing up your decision making when it comes to buying shares. So,
true story. Although Comac's not looking too bad though.
Yeah.
On the other end of the OEM scale, Boeing's aircraft deliveries fell to 83 in the first quarter, the lowest since mid-2021. Airbus delivered 142 planes in the same period. Boeing is slowing down production, obviously, to improve their quality control. At the same time, the FAA are starting their investigation into the whistleblower claims. So the whistleblower identified engineering problems affecting structural integrity and alleged that Boeing prioritized speed over addressing issues. Boeing denies the claims and expresses confidence in the safety of the 787 Dreamliner, because these allegations are against the 787 and 777.
No, this isn't necessarily anything to do with the MAX.
No, it's not to do with the MAX.
That whistleblower got taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Is this the same whistleblower?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. There's a bit of a thread here. It's like, do you even want to be labeled as a whistleblower?
No, you don't. But anyway, his threats were against one of them, at least 787 and 777. So the FAA are now having a look. Subsequent to this report, Boeing shares fell again. The company disputes the claims and is conducting analysis with FAA oversight. So this little article in itself affected the Boeing shares. My Boeing shares are not good. I thought I was getting a deal. but they continue to fall. We had an unruly passenger incident in South Africa the other day. About a month ago, 3 weeks ago.
You're talking about the one in Durban?
The one in Durban.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you don't know what we're talking about there, it was on a semi-flight. It was sort of one of these inverted commas, influencers, celebrity, whatever you want to call. And incident wasn't handled nearly as well as it should have been. Nothing to do with the semi or the way the crew handled it. Just in general, wasn't... things didn't go the way you would think they would. But now ICAO, they want to prosecute unruly passengers by ratifying a new treaty. The treaty aims to provide legal recognition and protections to in-flight security officers. Currently, unruly passengers are dealt with based on the Tokyo Convention, 1963, but ICAO is working towards a more unified approach. Evidently, this is going to be a much stricter type of thing. And if you do have a look on the interwebs, I was playing one the other day that literally went on for an hour. Some woman in the States, she was a first-class passenger, got taken off the plane, an absolute lunatic of a person. And it's just happening all the time.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're kind of getting used to it is, I suppose, a threat in itself, because it can greatly affect the safety of any flight. And if you take a situation where there is, take you for example, you're flying with your family and your kids, and someone starts behaving really badly, or potentially affecting your overall satisfaction of the flight, and you're a little bit worried about it's going to cause trouble one day.
No, of course.
There's going to be a mass fight on an aircraft. We haven't seen that yet, but I'm telling you now that's coming. There's going to be this. You could throw anything in the middle. You could have something that triggers this whole thing, and then remember, you've got passengers down at the back of the plane or at the front of the plane. You don't really know what this fight is about, but you see sort of some fisticuffs going on there. You're going to pick a side very quickly.
No, of course.
Could be a problem.
It's something that's definitely become progressively worse since COVID. I mean,
it has.
The whole excuse a couple of years ago was, the masks are driving passengers mad and blah 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 blah.
Oh, that's bullshit.
But it has something. It's gotten out of hand.
It has.
And I'm glad to see that there is something being done about it. I can just imagine, like you were saying now. Imagine being in the back of an airplane full of burkies after a strong rugby match, and something like that breaks out. You are going to have to pick a side very quickly.
Yeah. No, but it shouldn't ever happen on a plane.
No.
You need to be well behaved. I know that it's not the same in different parts of the world. There are different standards, but you just seem to be seeing a lot more of it. Obviously, you see a lot more because people are recording everything these days. But it needs to be managed, and I think that there needs to be very, very strong laws in place and repercussions that protect the paying passenger in the back of an aircraft where there is nowhere to run and hide. You're sitting there and you're exposed.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to play their part and behave.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, next story. South African Airways is looking for a new chief executive after its privatization deal fell through. The airline is also hiring for 4 other senior management positions to provide stability and direction, something they haven't had for many, many, many years. So applications for these roles are open until the 26th of April. So if you are someone that's interested in stabilizing and providing direction to South African Airways, get your application in before the 26th of April.
Yeah, you've got 15 days to get in on that sinking ship. I mean, because it hasn't taken long since the news broke out that the Takatso, what did you call it, Takalani Sesame deal wasn't going to go through. That this crowd have realized, like, maybe not such a good idea to...
Do you think that's what it was, or do you think... because
No, I reckon.
I mean, you would think that I'm not trying to defend the CEO. I haven't actually even looked at what the performance of the CEO would have been. But I mean, he can't really perform at the high. You're waiting for this privatization deal to happen, and then I suppose then you would kick in your long-term plan.
No, I just reckon it's.
Do you think that he's jumped ship, or do you think it was like?
Look, there's no prospect now. You know, there's not going to be any money coming in that
There's
the
no
upper echelon can get their greedy fingers into. You know, so like, why stick around? Let's go look for a better deal.
You wrecked them.
Yeah. There's a charter company that's going to start operating to Dubai soon that they can get involved in.
The same one to Mumbai.
I mean, sorry, Mumbai, yeah.
Yeah, also, the UAE as well. I think
Yeah. No, they're going everywhere. Going
everywhere.
big, man.
I've got a pilot productivity tip for you.
It's been a while since we had
Been
one
a
of
while.
those. Yeah.
And I thought today is a good time to pass it on to you because it's something that you would enjoy. And I don't know if you've tried it yet, but I've been using it the last few days, and it's actually pretty scarily good.
Yeah?
It's the AI DJ on Spotify.
I have used it. It's actually flipping good.
It's flipping good.
Came across it the other day. In fact, my dad still said to me, he said, listen, have you checked this out? I'm like, no. He says, no, this is a DJ that someone plays a playlist for you on Spotify. I was like, no way.
So like a lot of people, and this is obviously not for when you're in the aircraft. It needs to be, more when you live with connectivity. So if you're in an airport or something like that, we obviously like podcasts. Okay, you don't have to be rocket scientists to work that out. But the negative of a podcast is you do lose out with that sort of radio-ish sort of vibe. If you and I are like DJs, you don't have that sort of same radio vibe. So this AI DJ sounds just like a normal human, but it's a radio station for you. So today, coming to work, it's like, Bryan, I know you like listening to this on a Thursday morning. So boom, plays a song. And then there's a button that you can press, which basically changes, like if he's playing a genre that you're not really into or you're not vibing with, you just press that button. Instead of pushing next, you just push the button. And then he sort of changes his tune. All right, Bryan, you were at school in the 90s. This was the top tune in 1995. Boom. And then he plays like that tune. And it's kind of cool, and it's in this radio vibe. So he normally plays, it's in beta mode at the moment. So it's normally like 3 or 4 tunes of a genre. But then it can work out if you're clicking through it quite quickly. If you are, then it quickly changes the genre to something else. And normally 3 tunes. And he says, all right, okay, that's evening ride home, probably coming home from work. Here's something a bit more chilled from the 60s you enjoy. It's pretty wild.
It's fantastic. I mean, like you said, it is scarily accurate. There has been one or two instances where I've used it where like he's gotten the genre a bit long.
Yeah.
And I changed it. He goes, oh, well, now I know for future you ain't going to be that kind of man.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I just think if you're sitting in a airport terminal waiting on a long turnaround or something, you can put on your own, you obviously got your earbuds in, and you can listen to your own radio station. It's kind of cool because we all get lost in our own little playlist in the car. We have like our go-to playlist.
Yeah.
Everyone has that. And it's not so much that you're being lazy. You also don't want to walk around on your phone looking at things. So now you've got a DJ playing maybe something a bit different. And it's not just the music you've listened to. It's like, I'm really into Tom Waits at the moment. I'm digging it, like really into that. And he's like, if you're into Tom Waits, you'll like this.
Yeah.
And then he like threw some Sean Rowe music in there. And then like, I hadn't heard that stuff before. And now I've got a new artist that I'm listening to. So that is the pilot productivity tip for the week.
It's a good one, and I'm pretty sure most of our listeners will really enjoy and benefit from that as well. It is excellent. Funny enough, you actually introduced me to one of these artists a while back, or Jelly Roll.
Yes.
Jelly Roll is pretty good. And he was in the news last week. You heard about his private jet that hooked up some sort of emergency. They had to do an emergency landing.
Didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw an article. I was like, shit, old Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they had some issue with their think they were in a Challenger or Hawk or whatever.
Okay.
Had to pull off an emergency landing. And
He's quite a cool guy, actually.
yeah,
Dig him. Saw him on Rogan. His music is cool.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of Posty.
Yeah, Posty Malone. Right, we've got some listener comments from last week. Caroline Cole says, no excuse for any journalist, just do the research. That was speaking about that ridiculous article about toilets on the 1900 and not being allowed to go to a toilet on an aircraft that doesn't have a toilet.
Yeah.
Do your research. No excuse. Poor aviation journalism yet again. A very good one here by Martin Lockyer. This probably a discussion that can go on a bit longer. We spoke about GPS spoofing and that last week. Major concern, right? So GPS interference has been a daily occurrence in Ankara, Tehran, Baghdad airspace for years, which affects the ADS-B data and some look-ahead terrain warning functions. The more interesting GPS jamming, where gradual error can trick the aeroplane into thinking the spoofed GPS signal is correct, is more of a threat because the aeroplane doesn't detect that this is a spoof signal. What happened to the traditional INS that was completely self-sustaining provided the correct coordinates were put in at the beginning? Yet there was an error over time, but it was manageable. Now the more sophisticated IRSs get more corrupted by GPS spoofing because GPS updating was seen as an improvement. It is, but not when someone has a GPS spoofer. A bit short-sighted of manufacturers not to see this coming. The big problem is everyone was moving towards RNP approaches and GPS approaches at a lower cost to airports. RNP approaches are already suspended where GPS interference is likely. Now we need another solution. Please not NDBs again.
NDB approaches.
Yeah,
Jeez.
so quite an interesting one because it is a factor, and I actually did not even think about the whole approach element. I mean, it was a given that airports would just replace their old-fashioned ILSs and VRRs with GPS positions and of course GPS approaches. But yeah, it's a different story when you're at 30,000 feet and your waypoint moves by 10 miles. But if you're on an approach in poor weather,
you can't have it.
You can't have that. So yeah, that's a very valid point that I think is going to affect things going forward. And I'm surprised again. I think we did mention it last week. I'm surprised how little of this is spoken about in the general media. So we're speaking about it in aviation. We see this a lot, and obviously aviation being what it is, the pilots are able to combat these things by having very, very good systems in place. And that's why it's the top industry in the world when it comes to safety. But I'm still surprised, and I don't think the paying passenger would be overly charmed to know that this actually exists, that there are these little GPS spoofers that can either jam your GPS or move a position when you're close to the ground or near a bloody mountain or whatever it is. It's pretty hectic.
It is. And the unfortunate thing is most countries, particularly in Africa, are really pushing towards that reliance on GPS approaches so that they don't have to spend so much money on trying to maintain the ground-based approach aid infrastructure.
Exactly.
So, how they can actually accept it and allow this is a bit sad. There should be more being done about it, unfortunately.
So do you think this is like an internal hardware thing that the individual FMSs can actually pick up that this could be a spoofing issue, or is it at the level, you know what I'm trying to say? Is it a hardware inside an aircraft that should be detecting this as a problem? Or is the GPS system itself just too easily hackable? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think it's probably that.
The GPS system is hackable because the GPS is an American military system.
Yeah.
I know there are others around these days, but so if it's hackable, there's a problem because
There's a
that's
problem,
the whole system. So it's an interesting one to watch. And thanks, Martin, for your comment there. We'll keep looking at that one because every week there's more and more stories. Eventually, it becomes non-news because we used to it now.
Yeah,
and one day
it's kind of dangerous.
One day something's going to happen there. It's kind of dangerous. As per usual, Ryan and I will continue the convo on Patreon. So if you want to hear a little more and have a say in the show direction for next episode, then consider becoming Bryan a patron. It's quick, easy sign up, no fuss, and the link will be at the top of the show notes. We'll carry on Patreon. We'll see you next episode.
Shot, guys.
Cheers, pal.